All right, everybody. You guys ready? Let's wake up. All right, this is going to be fast and furious because I'm going to leave some time for you guys' questions. All right, I don't usually talk about pitch decks, and I definitely usually don't do slides. But when Lorraine asked me to do it, I said, okay, why not? So, when you guys pitch, when you guys send a pitch deck, which of these two is you? Does somebody feel like they've been pitch slapped? Like, holy crap, I got to sit through this? Or do they feel that that was a perfect pitch? I better get involved with this company. Better get involved with this founder. So that is the question that we are here to answer today. So, and I made it extra visual. I don't usually do that either. So we probably should make sure we've got these slides going. All right, so while we're doing this, while we're getting this set up, I want you guys to be thinking about all the questions you guys have related to pitch decks. Because before we actually get into all the pitch deck stuff, we're gonna set the room. We're gonna make sure that we're all having the same conversation about this very not transparent conversation. Fundraising is one of the least transparent things in all of startup land. It's probably the least transparent of all. This is the reason why in hundreds and hundreds of pitch events we don't do pitch slides or any of that. It's also something that people typically try to hide behind. But some of the stuff is kind of important when it comes to you guys being able to visualize how some of this stuff works. All right. How many of you guys, give me a number of how many founders you think get funded. What's the percentage?
1.5. 1 in 100.
Yeah, the person that guessed that saw the slide already. Give me the honest answer that you really think it is.
0.5.
No, you saw the number. Nobody ever guesses that.
Is it 0.5?
Yes, it's 0.5.
Genuine guess.
0.05.
0.05.
So that means less than 1% of founders that go to get funded actually get funded. I want that to sink in for a minute before we get into this chat about problems with your pitch deck. Okay? You're the problem. You don't understand how the funding world works. You don't understand how Silicon Valley operates. Okay, for the next slide, that's so sexy right here. How many of you guys know what the power law is? Power law, okay. The power law dictates what? I think the power law is a fallacy, but it is what Silicon Valley believes to be true. The power law states that 98% plus of all startups will fail. It's accepted as gospel. It's accepted as something that is going to happen and must happen. I reject that, which is the reason why we built Fusion 42. There's two reasons I reject that. Is because A, that's assuming that founders understand what they need to build and what is required in order for them to get funded. They don't. Number two is it also assumes that most founders are fundraising fluent. They are not. They don't understand the capital world. They don't understand where the capital is actually hiding out. Okay? So how many of you guys can tell me the return metric that is required and the reason why the power law is what it is today? Nope. Somebody guessed 100x, somebody guessed 7x. 163x is the average return that you must create. Not 163%, 163 times. Okay? Let that sink in. So, when we want to talk about pitch decks, I want you to understand it's everything that comes before your pitch deck and everything you do as a result of your pitch deck that actually determines whether or not you've got a great pitch deck. So, I wanted to kind of clarify what's really required. All right, what kind of drivel do you guys hear all the VCs say about what they do to back companies? What do they see on their websites? We back the most visionary founders. We care about founders' dreams and goals and changing the world beyond just making a return. We find pioneers and we make sure that they get the resources that they need. As long as it makes a bunch of money. Now, I'm not actually trying to paint VCs, I am a VC, as only in it for the capital, because it's not true. But what I'm saying is this adds to the complexity, that people don't understand what the power law is, that there's no education around what it takes to create a market-ready business or a fundraising business. And that, in general, founders are completely disconnected from understanding what makes a VC actually choose to do what they're going to do. Okay, so I had this big slide that had all the crap that VCs say on it, and then at the bottom basically making it clear that because they're not being clear, you can't count on them for what they say. So one of the things that we do is we track all the data for all the new funds that come out every single week. So as of today, last week was 700 million. The week before was 3 billion. The week before was 13 billion. And this week, 7.8 billion across 17 funds. Capital is not the problem, founders. Say it after me. Capital is not the problem. There's unlimited amounts of capital that are out there for great founders that do the work. The next slide that was on basically brings up 2 points. And those 2 points are, I know that you guys are all asking yourselves, how do I get funded? But the question you should really be asking is, how do I build a market-ready business? Market-ready. That means that you've de-risked it. That means you've actually tested it in the market. That means before you went off to go build something, you actually went and talked to clients and customers. I know all the founders like to sit in their little bat caves and build products and never want to create any contact with human beings. But until you go talk to real clients and real users, you don't know if you have something. So what I want you guys to start thinking about is, instead of minimum viable product, be thinking minimum viable experiment. What's the earliest version of something I can go to somebody and say, if I built this clickable, if I built this thing that's in a Google Doc, if I built this, don't think of an actual product. Think of something that you can pre-sell, that you can actually verify and validate, and do it 1,000 times. And then when you've got that data will tell you what your go-to market plan needs to be. Then, and only then, once you've figured out what problem fit is, should you attempt to go build a product that's going to cost you money, and then go and raise money. So on the next slide, I had a breakdown of 80% of your ability to fundraise comes down to you building something that's market ready. So in other words, if you weren't raising capital, how were you getting clients and customers to pay for your service? And did you choose the right service with the right offer for the right niche for each client or each thing that you feel that you need to launch? And this is the part that founders want to skip, and it's the reason you guys don't get funded. And we see right through it on your guys' decks. And it looks like I lost, oh my gosh. Looks like we lost the whole thing here.
Should be in your browser history because it was in Canva.
Yeah. Dang it. There's so much data on this. I never do that. Here, give me a sec. Yeah, you guys shut down a huge... Yeah.
Were you able to get on the past guest internet?
I have no idea. I'm not using that. I'm using something else.
I mean, if that's the only thing that works.
I don't know. Okay. All right, so we're back to this. Yeah, this is something I would never have tried to say out loud to you guys, but here it is. So essentially, getting back to, now that we're kind of clear on some of the things you may not understand, and I don't know that it was as cohesive as it needed to be, and I apologize for that. Let me give you the flow of what you need to be able to say based on the data that you collect, and it needs to be in your deck, okay? And I have this on the screen, but it's something like, this is what we do in a nutshell, because there's a great problem. You describe the problem. And we know how to solve it. We built this, or we tested this, right? These users are loving it. They're winning, right? Which means we are winning and growing. This is how we get paid for it. Unit economics. Can you explain the basics of how the business actually makes money, right? We are a solid team with the right experience and the mindset to execute. And it's the right time to expand and take advantage of what our users are telling us, right? This is in less than 10 slides, people, right? The market is quite sizable. Some others are playing in it, but our users, the people we collected data from that we can show you, say that we're better. And we will get more users by doing this. We need to raise this much to execute this, which will get us these outcomes. See how simple that is? But you guys want to complicate everything in the deck. The deck is not what's going to get you funded. I'm going to tell you that right now. I've never seen, in the 20 years of doing this, I've seen 17,000 plus pitches. I have thousands of decks. I don't even look at decks anymore. The way we do it at Pitch Kung Fu and inside the Danger Room, for those of you who come to Fusion 42, is we do 2-minute pitches on video, because that doesn't lie. You either are confident and know what you're talking about and have done the homework and can describe the go-to market strategy, or you can't. And we can see right through it. The deck backs that up. The deck is a result of the experience and the time talking to clients and customers that you put out. Do you get that? You might start a deck early, but it needs to evolve with the feedback, with what you're hearing from the clients and customers. Everybody's excited about the deck, overwhelmed by the deck, but the deck's easy if you've gone out and done the actual homework, right? So the deck needs to distill 2 core emotional drivers at the end of the day. The first is, this is the green light one, is the positive emotion, and that is the reason to invest is greed. You're not going to say that, but you want to make the person that's looking at the deck excited because of what you bring to the table. The second core driver is FOMO. The reason to not invest means that it instills fear and FOMO that they're missing out. Does that make sense? Yeah, we VCs love to act like we're super sophisticated human beings, but we're emotional. We make emotional decisions. We're deciding if we like you, if we trust you, if we want to get married, because that's what we're doing for a decade. Have you guys ever had to make an investment 1 year and wait 10 years to see what happens with it? How many of you guys have had to do that? I have, many, many, many times. It's not always fun. Better make sure that you choose the right bedfellow, right? So those are the 2 core drivers. After that, I'd say to remember a few things when it comes to your pitch deck. Number 1, problem must be clear for a very specific niche. If it sounds like you're building something for everyone, you will not make it. Remember, you got to write that hit song before you go and you try to write greatest hits. Choose something very specific. The stakes in startups are much higher than they are in small businesses. You don't have a lot of time. You've got a couple of months to figure out if you've got problem fit, and if it's not the right one, you got to go find another one inside of that niche and make sure that you keep working on it before you choose the solution, right? Fall in love with the problem, not the solution. Most founders go on and on and on about their product. They never talk about the benefits, and they never talk about how they got to that point and how they verified, validated, tested, pre-sold, demoed everything prior to building product. Don't think about what happened 20 years ago in the startup world. That's not what happens today. The funders will not do this homework for you. They expect you to show up with a market-ready business. That means that you have got to show that you've tested and verified and validated. I know I keep repeating it, but this is so important. It's 80% of your ability to raise. Number 2, make sure it's super, super painful. You guys are not in the business of selling vitamins. You need to be selling the cure for a virus. It needs to be painful for the individuals. It needs to feel acute so that they're ready to give you the money. Number 3, do not skip problem fit. Any other questions? Return back to number 1. Do not skip problem fit. This is the number 1 thing that founders do. They show up and they try to pitch, and it's clear that they have no idea what that is, okay? How did you validate it to inform which solution you're building so we know you're not guessing? Everything's a guess in startups, just like everything's a guess in marketing, but how informed is it? Did you go out and do the hard work of getting rejected and told, hey, I don't like this, hey, I love this, here's my money, put me on the wait list, right? That's a form of traction. Number 4, go-to market comes from all that feedback. Describe your go-to market in depth to instill confidence in your pitch, in your deck. How are you acquiring users and clients? And don't tell me you're using social media. It's not enough. I got to know that I'm not putting my money in your company and you're burning it in the trash bin because you don't understand marketing. Most small businesses and startups are royally horrible at marketing. So I want to hear, how did you go and get to understand who your core client is? And do you know them so well you know exactly what their pain is so that you can describe it to them where they're ready to give you their credit card? Does that make sense? Super, 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 super important to understand this. Go-to market, just so that we're all on the same page, is not marketing. In a world of infinite possibilities and options and choices with limited resources to launch your company, how are you launching your company today? And yes, inside of that is, how do we acquire users? Go-to market tomorrow might look a little different. Go-to market the following month might look a little different. You're always going to market. You're always updating that plan. You're always finding your way forward. And guys, just read the NVIDIA book on Jensen, one of the most valuable companies in the world while I've been mountain biking. 3 times he ignored this, and he almost lost the company 3 times. He almost ran out of money after raising millions and millions of dollars because he thought that he knew where the market was and tried to create a market versus actually going where the market was. So instead of like creating something, go find and follow the market and be inside of it. Once you're further along, you can start market making. You can start saying, I know where the market's going. I know where the hockey puck is actually going. right? And he started doing that. That's what he did with AI. He saw the writing on the wall. He saw something else. There was a way to partner with universities and to build the software that they would use to force them to use his hardware. But he didn't start there. Almost lost the company 3 times after massive raises. Just because you guys raised some money doesn't mean you made it. It's actually the beginning. Now you got to go execute. Okay? All right. Last things on this. Sell the problem and the investment opportunity, not the product. Don't tell us how great your product is. Tell us what it does for people and how they connect to it. What does it actually do? And how bad is the problem that it solves? And do that early in your pitch and early in your pitch deck. And then the investment opportunity. Make me understand that this is a rocket ship. I better be on board, right? Number 2, it's a snapshot. It's a brochure. The best in the world use like 10 slides to pitch. 7 slides to pitch. Or don't need any slides at all because they know their pitch so well and they can tell a story about it. It's a brochure, it's a snapshot. The reason we do 2-minute pitches in Fusion, and we've done hundreds and hundreds of these sessions, is because nobody needs to hear you drone on for more than a couple of minutes about what you're doing. They don't have the attention span, it's not needed. You can cover everything you need to cover in 2 minutes to get somebody's attention. Then from there you can get coffee with them, or you can do dinner, or you can do a longer session. Train to the 2 minutes and know it inside and out so you're not having to refer to notes or anything like that. And then last but not least on this, tailor your pitch deck to the capital category and capital type. This is another slide I would not have involved if I knew you weren't going to be able to see it. It's a big ass slide with 25 different types of capital on it. And guys, that's only 1/3 of all the capital that's out there. It's a big old presentation with tons of different capital. I doubt anybody could name them all in here. And that's not a slight. I was a VC for years and didn't know. Until I started building a funding platform, I'm like, holy crap. There's capital macros, there's capital categories, and then underneath that, there's 60 different types of capital. So if you don't understand this stuff, how are you going to build a deck that's tailored for a specific capital type? Does that make sense? Okay, Kurt, I'm going after friends, family, and fools. Okay, great. I'm going after angels. I'm going after a specific type of angel. I'm going after different types of VC funds. Okay, great. Which type? And then it goes on and on and on from there. Your deck should be tailored towards a specific audience of investor type. And if you have 2 different audiences, you probably need a second deck, and you need to know how to pitch them properly. So we had at the other Tech Alley, we had one of my buddies who's had 3 exits. His last exit was $330 million, right? And I said, how did you decide how you were going to pitch? He goes, I talked to the investors about what kind of structure they wanted to have, and I pitched them that. Isn't that a revolutionary idea? He said, what kind of a deal would you guys fund? Let me structure it like that, and then they gave him the money. I know these things are kind of common sense, but common sense is not so common, unfortunately, in the capital world. And then I've got a bunch of stuff on like what Fusion 42 actually does. Essentially, we have sessions and content 3 times a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Every Thursday we have a pitch event. Every Tuesday and Wednesday we teach AI, like the best you're going to find in AI. We teach fundraising fluency. How does capital work? Where is it? How do I access it? When do I use it? When do I play which capital card? We also do startup resiliency, which breaks down all the other topics, like cap table. How many of you guys know cap table management inside and out? We did a whole session on that on Tuesday. We've got just a killer AI session coming up on Tuesday. So we rotate through these different topics. And then, of course, Mr. Chris over here, a multimillionaire marketer. Say hi to Chris. Chris came and did our go-to market session today. So those are the sessions that we do. We also do live online pitch events. Tomorrow is Pitch Kung Fu at 8 a.m. We've got founders pitching. We've got some pretty badass founders that have raised millions of dollars pitching tomorrow. And we do that every single week. And then at the end of the month, we have one called Fused online, and that's where we get you checks. We get you set up for that. We also have a Telegram community with 20 channels with experts. You want to understand financial modeling? We got you. You want to understand how to handle your legal? We got you. Name a topic, we've got it covered, and there's people that are answering that. I also told you about all the funds. We tell you about where all the capital's hiding out. Why do we do that? Because you guys think capital's the problem. It's not. You're the problem. Your startup isn't ready. You haven't gone and de-risked it. You haven't done the work to make sure it's market ready. Market ready businesses have a way of attracting capital to them. It's kind of a strange thing. Great founders and great projects always get funded. So we publish that data for you guys in our newsletter. It's called the Raise Report. And then we pipe it into the Telegram community, which, by the way, we're working with Josh and Lorraine to actually put together a Telegram group for all of the Tech Alley people. where you can be connected to Fusion and all these channels, and then you can chat amongst the local Tech Alley folks. So we've got that's coming for you guys. And then we do Raise Summits. We did one last December. We interviewed 55 of the best fundraisers from all over the world. We did panels and a bunch of other activities for you guys related to checking your marketing and de-risking and all that. We have another one coming in early June, and then we'll have another one in the fall. We're based in Dubai, we're based in Vegas, and we do 100 events a year. Nobody does more events in the city for founders than we do, because we're crazy. We just did a family office event. And so if you guys are looking for a super accelerator, we have a program that we're launching here soon called SGA, Super Global Accelerator. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we don't charge equity. We don't take any equity for any of the work we do. The majority of the stuff that we do is free. We do have a cheap little $42 a month membership for all the sessions. And guys, I'm really sorry that this happened. There's some pretty cool data on the screen that would have been fun to kind of walk you guys through. Okay, what questions do you guys have? Pitch decks, anything related to that, it could be whatever, since we've been all over the place. Go ahead, and then go ahead, Doris.
So how can we join those weekly sessions?
Right, so just go to fusion-42.com. And I had some other like captions that you could grab. We also have a Fusion calendar so that you can just subscribe to it, and it'll start to add it to your calendar, and you guys can come to the sessions. They're awesome. I'm going to tell you, they're really great. If you guys want to be fundraising ninjas, and you really want to understand what it takes to get your business, we're hardcore. The feedback's really, really direct that we give, but we're training you to the standard of where the market is. Go ahead, Darius.
Would you be able to put your presentation that we did see today into Fusion 42, possibly?
Sure, and I could send the link out to you guys too, but it would have been better if we could have gotten it working. But that's my lesson. I know better. 20 years of doing this. Go ahead.
So, in my experience, there's two types of audiences. Ones that are scared and the other ones are bored. So how do you find the ones that are not scared and bored?
You mean at Fusion? We browbeat you guys with everything you don't know. So the people are going to self-select and filter themselves out. The reality is the startup world is extremely competitive. And so the good news is there's more technology at a cheaper price than ever before. The bad news is that you're competing with somebody in some shack in India that's going to kick your ass because they want it more than you do. And more power to them. Right? You've got to be willing to really, you have to ask yourself, am I building a small business, which is totally fine, or am I building a startup? If you're building a small business, get to work and get some clients. Validate what you're doing. If you're building a startup, the pressure, the speed, the need for resources is ratcheted up like 100 times. One is not better than the other. Frankly, small businesses make more money most of the time. You guys want to go 5 years without making millions of dollars and bust your ass like you are building something? Yeah, that's building a startup. So you have to know that. I don't know if that answers your question. Sure. Anybody else?
Yeah, over here.
Yep.
What are some, it's all about personalities too. So what are some deal killers that are, I know a lot of the times they don't like to deal with inventors, you know what I mean?
Yeah, inventors don't want to do anything other than invent. This whole idea of building a business is like, what, I have to build a business? I have to get something to market? What?
So what are some deal killers? What I'm concerned with is there's some people that's all they do is raise money, right, for different companies.
Sure.
Versus somebody that, and I've had that question before, you can't do too many things. So how do investors look at
Well, investor doesn't want to hear you're working on more than one thing. I can say that. We just had an event recently where somebody pitched twice, 2 different things they're doing, and they're not even related. I was like, what are you doing? The message you're sending is you're not focused. Now they're experienced, but it wasn't a good move. And then the second project just looked like a straight up cash grab. It didn't look like a startup needs to add value to the market fundamentally. It can't be this thing that looks like a pump and dump. This is a really big topic, and we cover these kinds of things in Fundraising Fluency on I think it's the 2nd and 4th weeks of the month on Wednesdays. So happy to answer that. And then in the Telegram group, which you can access from fusion-42.com, we can answer all of these questions because we harp on this a lot. I was trying to keep it focused on what you guys don't know about pitch decks by explaining kind of the standard of what's required. A pitch deck will only confirm what somebody already believes to be true about you. It will not get you funded. If it's really bad, it might hurt you, but in general, they've already decided if they're going to be interested in you. So a pitch deck won't get you funded. Unfortunately, though, the startup world does operate on send me your pitch deck first, very frequently. There's been times where I've raised where I just refuse to do that, but I'm also way more advanced on the founder side, and being an investor myself, I kind of know the game. But it really depends on if you have a relationship or not. Okay, I think we're out of time.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
So, real quick, what I want to say, guys, is that I know you probably want to get a copy of what Kurt spoke
Sure.
about, and I'm seeing it here, some really great content. So I will make, if you can send it to me, I'll send it to everybody after the event
Sure.
tonight.
And you guys, if you want to see this stuff in action, you want to see founders getting their butts kicked, come to Pitch Kung Fu on Thursdays. It's at 8 a.m., all the sessions, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Every single week is at 8 a.m., and then once we go into daylight savings time, which is coming in like a week and a half, it moves to 9 a.m. So just expect every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there's going to be a session, and then we do live events at the Venture House properties in Vegas. We had 1,500 founders at our last pitch event during CES. And yeah, we don't screw around. So, you know, we really are doing our best to really support you guys here. So bring some of your founders with you, bring all your questions, and get ready to get to work, because it's pretty hardcore and it's pretty intense. One last thing, we do have a startup checklist. It will scare you. It's extensive. We're working on a small business version for the Tech Alley folks that are on the small business side. Small businesses are awesome, so I don't want anybody to hear anything other than that from me. It's just there's a different standard that you have to operate at, right? There's more delayed gratification with startups. So, all right, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kurt. That was amazing. No, it was great. You did great.
That was horrible.
All right, guys.